Welcome back to the Ms.Dria Show. Here I have with me Miss Frances Frosty Remy.
Hi, Ms.Dria. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for inviting me on.
Thank you for coming out to the show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so Miss Frosty she's the owner, the founder of Frosty Flava magazine.
Yeah, that I am.
How long have you been doing that?
Well, I executed the magazine back in October of 1996.
Okay, wow.
And at that time, I was a radio personality on WLQY 1320. So it was a venture.
Wow.
It was just a venture.
And now the magazine reaches over 100,000
readership.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
I actually have a couple of the magazines she brought out, and this is Progression.
Thank you. That is elevation.
Yes. So, as a former radio personality, entrepreneur, philanthropist, tastemaker, mentor, and publisher, you have a profound focus on empowering the urban community in exactly what way?
I would think that I'm influential in having, how can I say? I like to empower people, but for the most part, I like to help them release the entrepreneurship within themselves.
Okay, that's perfect. That's great because we do need more of that. We need more of
Everybody needs some level of inspiration, so I like to be that for them.
That's great. Now, what inspired you to start the magazine?
What inspired me? A lot of things inspired me. I think for the most part, I used to be a radio personality on Haitian radio, and when I came in, one of the things that I noticed was the people that were there, not to take anything away from them, the radio personalities that were there, they were there for 10, 15 years longer. Or, they were already there for 10, 15 years. When I came in at the same scale. So that gave me, that kind of scared me a little bit. Because if I'm walking in and I'm at the same level that you're on 10, 15 years later, that means that there's really no elevation. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of stagnation there. As a result, I didn't want to be cramped in a circle where I couldn't grow. So, I took the opportunity, I grabbed the bull by the horn, I rode the train, and I decided that I wanted to do something different with myself and with my life. So while the opportunity based itself for me, I took the initiative and I started the publication.
Wow.
So
that's great. That's great. And now look at you.
Yeah, like 20 years later, still
That's
grinding.
great.
So
The grind never stops. The grind never stops.
no, it doesn't.
So now the magazine has done business with many reputable artists and companies and organizations. To name a few: Sony Music, Artista Records, Trey Songz, Pitbull, Flo Rida, Trina, Rick Ross, and many more.
Right.
What exactly are you promoting and showcasing in the magazine?
Well, we promote people on point. We promote artists. I'd like to utilize the magazine. The magazine has never really had a niche.
Okay.
Because it was always a community-based publication. I think with having a publication, you don't really have a niche. You have to just kind of go with the flow, and whatever flows for you the best, that's what you grab a hold onto, and then you elevate on that. So right now, what I would like to see in the magazine, I would like to use a magazine as a platform for local artists to gain the exposure, to put them out there in the faces of the locals. We got great artists right here in our backyard. Nobody's ever heard their music. We got Stitches, we got Grimas, we got DJ Epps, we got Sassy. We got all these artists that are producing great music, but nobody knows them and they're local, like La Vie. Why is she not signed yet? You know what I mean? Everybody knows her, but nobody knows her. Mm-hmm. So that's a problem. So when you see artists perform on that level, it causes me to step in and say, what's going on? So I'm like kind of like the doctor of things.
Yeah, no,
I get in
great.
the middle and then I start to operate to try to get something moving. And it's been successful so far. So I'm thinking of trying to take it to another level.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Now, how can we attain the magazine?
The magazine is a free publication.
Okay.
It's distributed tri-county. The one thing that I hope you'll never find, is the magazine having shelf life. The magazine, because it's a free publication, no one really has a reason not to pick it up.
Oh, exactly.
Because you're not being charged for it, so you don't have a reason not to pick it up. Because the people we promote pay for advertisement, I want to make sure that that magazine gets in as many hands as possible so that the person who's actually paying for the promotion or the advertisement or the exposure, they get their dollar values worth. So for me, it's like, I never want the magazine to be on the shelf. If I tell you, hey, you could pick it up on the Dria show, and then it's just sitting on the shelf, that's not good for me. So, I mean, we do subscription. Once the magazine is distributed, we put it in pockets in different areas, but they go as fast as we put them down. So
Exactly.
that's a pretty great demand, and I love it that way.
That's great. Now, we usually do a thing where we have a What Do You Think segment,
Okay.
and we show a clip, and I like to ask you, what do you think about it?
Okay.
So we're going to take a look at a clip now.
All right.
Probably one of the most outspoken comedians, especially black comedians, about Bill Cosby. What is your relationship with him?
Well, I think he's look, you can be tremendously talented and be benevolent. Like when Lucifer, when he was in heaven, he was God's most beautiful angel.
Mm-hmm.
You can do evil shit. Like you can fuck up in heaven, you can fuck up in Harlem. That's the way it goes. But I just think in 2009, remember when Kiss FM was here, right?
Yeah.
I was hosting the show. And people don't know that Bill Cosby sought actively to try to get Def Jam out there. He didn't want us, like he didn't like the way you did
The
comedy.
Def Comedy Jam.
He didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
There was only so you could. So we had a run in, and I knew he didn't like me, and I didn't like him. He called in 2009, called to do an interview. I was at Kiss FM in New York. Me, Jackie Reed, Steve Wilson. Bill called to do an interview. He had a gig in Connecticut. I knew he didn't like me, so I just let them do the interview. And about 10 minutes in, he was being such a dick. You know, all that kind of shit. So I say, hey, man, what, Mr. Cosby, what do you want us to know? Who is this? This D.L. Hughley. You say nigga, and you do this, and you say, and I said, well, with all due respect, Mr. Cosby, when I cuss or I say nigga, no girl ends up with her underwear on backwards and drugged.
Wow.
And when I say nigga, when I cuss, it's on stage, not a police report. And we go back and forth, It's a true story. And he says, this is not going to air. I said, the fucking ain't, right? And I thought it would. 10 minutes later, 5 to 10 minutes later, the people from Kiss FM and MS Communication came down, took that tape, said if it airs, you'll never work on radio again. Took it from everybody. Said this better never air. And it did not.
And it did not air.
I'm telling that's true shit. I swear that on my kids. So I
what-
know he's
but-
powerful enough to make that happen.
So now you don't think so you're telling this story now.
I told it then. I
Oh, you
told it
told
on
it on
Tom
Tom
Jones.
Jones?
No, this
Oh,
is
okay.
not. No, this is.
You told the story.
Oh yeah, I swear to God.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
people only hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Like I had known this for a long time and said it a long time ago. I remember I was on Tom Jones' show. He's the one that got me my radio show, and I was on his show, and I told him, "Don't talk about Mr. Cosby like that." They really have this idea. Like you can be, like I said, you can be profane, you can be profound. He's a lot of is. He's a humorist.
Yeah.
He's a benevolent. He's a humorist. He's a humanitarian, and he's a rapist. That's the way that you can be all them.
Could be all
You
those.
can be,
yeah.
man, I lived next door to a dude, man. He took me to the free clinic. He told me about life. And he also was raping his daughter the whole time and went to jail. So to me, he's always gonna be the dude who did everybody's do. How come when people do stuff like this, they're always above reproach, nobody ever believes them, and then it's always a lot of victims. And it's always and the reason it hits home to me is because my youngest daughter said something happened to her, and because it was somebody I like, I didn't believe her. And I'll never get that back. She'll never. I'm supposed to protect her, and I'll never get that back. That she told her father something, and he didn't do nothing about it because it was inconvenient. So I could see how that could play.
Right.
And there's so many everybody wandering around why women are mad and why people are like that. Look at the shit they go through.
Yeah.
Like when she said on Color Purple, a girl child ain't safe in the family for the men. That's fucking true. And it's just that he is categorically everybody you ever see is like priests who are above reproach, or coaches who are above reproach.
Right.
Yeah.
Teacher.
Nobody, teacher, they would never. Why are you somebody's boyfriend? I watch out with you. And he played on that, and to this date, he's never said he didn't do it. He got women defending it. He ain't never one time said I ain't do it. And you arguing on TV. Now, you know, I can, whether this ain't hateration, I think he's one of the greatest comics that ever lived.
Yeah.
So what? That you still, I tell you what, by any accounts, you could say, well, those women wanted to get in the show, but I didn't want to get drugged and fucked. I wanted
a role. I wanted a cameo.
I wanted a speaking part. I didn't want to get the shit fucked out of me without knowing. The fuck is that the same? I wanted to win a Grammy, not a Slammy. What the fuck are you talking about?
Wow.
What the fuck are you saying?
D.L. Hughley is here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna open up the.
Now, we all just watched that clip of DL talking about Mr. Cosby. What do you think about that? It's a lot going on as far as, you know, with the whole Cosby situation.
What do I think about the clip, or what do I think about the whole situation?
Okay, one thing at a time. What do you think about the clip?
I think D.L. Hughley is actually one of my favorite comedians, so I'm always going to be biased towards him because he speaks the truth and he says things that a lot of people don't want to hear, but it's the truth. He rarely fabricates. So I'm in agreement with him to the most part. But as far as the whole Bill Cosby situation, that's a touchy subject. I don't think that he didn't do it. But there's a lot of controversy that comes behind it. So if I really said what I really, really felt, I'd probably look bad. So, I'd offend a lot of people, especially women, because you and I both, we're women,
Exactly.
right? And we understand that, especially in this industry, you have people with money. People with money like to play. And a lot of times women think that if I'm around people with money, I can play, but I can play safe. Not every game you play is a safe game. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate to say that. Do I believe he did it? Absolutely, without a doubt. But I don't believe that everybody who claimed to have taken a part of playing the game
Are victims.
I
agree.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Because we have the option to position ourselves in certain ways where we can be a part of it or we can walk away.
Exactly.
A lot of times when you got that kind of money, they're not going to walk away. So then you cry victim later on, not to justify what he did. But if you know that's within his character, don't put yourself in that realm. Don't.
I totally agree with you.
And I appreciate you agreeing with me. So we're both going to get scrutinized together.
Yeah.
So
I made the same comment though. Like, you know, regardless of the situation, if these women were enduring whatever was going on, why wait till now? You know what I'm saying? Something apparently didn't go right.
Some might have been embarrassed about the situation. But if it was that painful then, what makes it even more painful now?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like I said, it's an unfortunate situation, but you hear people rap about it. You hear people talk about it. It's not a secret anymore.
No.
You know, and just like strip clubs have become the normal club, I don't understand like why women are at strip clubs the way men are, but again, we're in a different generation. You know what I mean? So people play they play the game, but they want to play it with their rules, and you can't do that.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. We have another clip we're going to show, and we're going to see what's up with this one.
The Texas trooper who hauled Sandra Bland out of her car during a routine traffic stop will be fired. That's according to the Texas Department of Public Safety. Earlier Wednesday, a grand jury charged Brian Encinia with perjury for allegedly lying about how the arrest went down. Dashcam video of a confrontational traffic stop shows the trooper holding a stun gun and threatening Bland, yelling, quote, "I will light you up." She was taken to a jail where she was found dead in her cell 3 days later. CBS News Justice reporter Paula Reed is in Washington now. So tell me a little bit about what his version of the arrest was and why the grand jury found evidence that he was lying.
In his affidavit, Contessa, he said that he pulled Bland out of her car because it was all part of a routine, safe traffic investigation. But the grand jury wasn't buying it, mostly because of what you see in that dash cam video. He asks her to put out a cigarette. She refuses. He pulls her out of the car. Things escalate very quickly between the two of them. He even threatens to tase her. So the grand jury essentially believes there's enough evidence to charge him with lying in this case. Now, if he is ultimately convicted of those charges, he could face up to a year in prison and a $4,000 fine.
But Paula, no implication here in her death in that jail cell.
Not at this time. The federal grand jury that has, the grand jury that has been assembled in this case has declined to prosecute anyone or charge anyone in connection with her death. That essentially confirms the medical examiner's conclusion that this was a death by suicide. Her family, however, has filed a wrongful death suit, and there have been calls for the Department of Justice to conduct an independent investigation.
And is there any indication that it will?
Now that this grand jury has concluded its work, it is possible that the Department of Justice could potentially decide to open an independent investigation into this case. But at this point, they're just monitoring the investigation from afar.
Paula Reed in Washington. Paula, thank you.
We all know what happened with the Sandra Bland situation. It's absolutely horrible. For them to give him a year in prison if found guilty and a $4,000 fine does not do her life justice at all. Do you have any thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts. I think it's a disgusting thing. I think as much as the general public scrutinize criminals, I think a majority of the I can't say majority, I take that back, I retract that. A lot of the officers we have on the streets are just as bad. Primarily because of the fact that my son was incarcerated. And to have someone incarcerated, to have someone pulled over, to be pulled over for something so basic like a light, and then you end up dead, like, what's the contemplation there? Like, what are you contemplating? What are you waiting for evidence? Everything is on tape. What's the purpose of the dash cam? It's a personal situation for me because Sandra Bland is you and I. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So if you catch a cop on a wrong day, is it okay? My daughter, can he pull her over because she didn't put her signal on and then harass her to the point or taunt her to the point of, or provoke her to provoke him to kill her? Like, that doesn't sit well with me. And anybody that can say that sits well with them, it's an inhumane thing. Like, how is that okay? That's abuse of authority. That means that you willfully put an individual in charge who is out of control. You know, and how many people does he have to kill for him to show you that you made a mistake with him?
Exactly.
So, to me, I don't know. A year in jail versus an individual's life, and then to say that she was suicidal, and I pass. I just pass because it's painful for me. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's a sign of the times. That's where we're living. That's how we're living, and it's okay for them to do it. You know, look at Trayvon Martin. Look at their lives. It's almost like we've gotten to a stage where the animals, they value animals more than they value human being, because they'll stop and feed an animal, but they won't stop and give a homeless person $1. Like, that doesn't sit right with me. And everybody technically is about a paycheck away from being homeless. You know what I mean? So it's an unfortunate situation, but it's the times that we're living in. And if we don't stand up to make a change, if we don't make a ruckus, nothing's going to really happen. You know what I mean? So, I'm always going to be biased towards that. So
no, it's fine. I'd like to thank you for coming out to the Ms.Dria show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'd like to welcome you back whenever you feel the need to come back.
I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see Dria in our next issue.
I look forward to being in it.
February. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
I commend you.
Thank you.
Young, beautiful.
Thank you.
And you're full of inspiration, and I see what you're doing. And I appreciate you for the people who haven't told you that they appreciate you.
Thank you.
The local artists. You guys are doing your thing, and I take my hat off to you guys.
Thank you.
So We're all in this
Likewise.
family together.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
all the best.
So thank you so much. Do you have any social media that you would like to give out to the people?
Actually, on Instagram, I'm Frosty's Flava.
Okay.
On Facebook, I'm Frosty's Flava Magazine. On Twitter, I'm Frosty's Flava Mag. So you can find me, or just type in Frosty's Flava Magazine, and then it should pop up.
Perfect. So like I said, I'd like to thank you again
Thank
for
you.
coming out. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have more of the Ms.Dria Show. Stay tuned.